So we have talked a lot about different hacks that have been going on, and it seems like it is increasing. I don't have any other way to put it besides there have been more and more. We're covering this almost on a daily basis. And what's crazy is not many, pundits are really talking about how many hacking stories there really are. As far as Staple confirms cyber attack behind service outages and delivery issues. This is, of course, the easy button Staples that everybody knows, but it gets crazier because soon we're going to be talking about the infrastructure that's being affected, water supplies for cities. It says American office supply retailer Staples took down some of its systems earlier this week after a cyber attack to contain the breach's impact and protect customer data. Staples operates 994 stores in the U.S. and Canada, along with, of course, all of the shipment and 40 fulfillment centers for nationwide product storage and dispatch. The disclosure comes after multiple Reddit users reported online since Monday reported various Staples internal operation problems, including an inability to access Zendesk VPN employee portals, print email, use phone lines, and more. Additionally, there are unconfirmed reports that Staples employees have been instructed to avoid logging into, get this, Microsoft 365 using a single sign-on or SSO, and that call center employees have been sent home for 2 consecutive days. What's even crazier is there's so many of these hacks that involve Microsoft 365. Even going back a few years, there was the hospital hack that ended up having hospitals stop mid-surgery because they couldn't do paperwork and they couldn't do the legal stuff to actually do the surgeries. It all had to do with the cloud services and this and that and stuff from Microsoft 365. Now, again, maybe that's a little stretch, but again, I have seen so many stories that involve the Microsoft 365 service. Now, what I also have pointed out that a lot of these big companies, and I told you this years ago, are the same companies, these Fortune 500 companies that were all affected under SolarWinds. The SolarWinds hack is the hack that just keeps giving. So we're going to talk about this and much, much more on today's show. Stick around. Today is going to be packed. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after our disclaimer. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. So remember, you can find a full bibliography of all of our sources, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document when you go over to marfooglenews.com. You can also sign up for our email alerts. If we were ever to get information absolutely that we knew 100% was true, we would use that system. That was the I Want to Know system, I'm In system that from years and years ago, and we would only use that, again, for very important things. We haven't sent out an email, and I can't even remember the last one we did. But that email system is also for if anything happens, we can get a hold of you and tell you where we're at. Again, so make sure to sign up for that. That's at marfooglenews.com. Also sign up for our notifications. Over there, you can just, right when you go to our website, it will say, would you like notifications from this? I normally turn all those down, but I would say definitely click yes. I know that like you go to Apple or all these other ones, it will say, yes. I don't want to know when Apple puts out a phone or something. But if you want to know when we put out shows, that is just a simple notification. It tells you exactly when we go live on all the browsers. So let's get into it. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
And then remember, you can also find all of our wonderful mods. There's a ton of people down in chat right now. If you are joining us live for the first time, pop into the chat. It's a really fun time. There is great mods that are always helpful. They're always trying to help the community get to know others. And of course, finding links and finding sources or how to get to the website. They're always helping people. And of course, there's a whole group of friends that all have their own YouTube channels. So make sure to go check them out. From Bones to Wages World, they're all there. And again, thank you to all the mods that have made it here today. All right, so there's the Staples hack, and there's many more. There's, of course, the New Jersey Health System says outages are likely result of cyber attack. Why do we keep seeing these? It says the New Jersey Health System says that it's the latest health care organization in the U.S. to be a victim of cyberware attack. Capital Health, which operates hospitals in Trenton and Pennington, as well as primary care offices across the state, said that it had been experiencing network outages and that it now believes was a cybersecurity incident. It says in a statement on its webpage, the health system said that it became aware of the incident earlier this week and immediately notified law enforcement and outside forensic and information technology experts. Capital Health said it's unclear or financial data. The system said that there are some disruptions to services, outpatient radiology is not available, and neurophysiology and non-invasive cardiology testing appointments are being rescheduled. Additionally, surgeries are being prioritized based on urgency and the patient's conditions. So this is actually stopping up healthcare systems, which are already broken in the beginning, to be honest. And now, because of different legal reasons and different technicalities, they're having to stop stuff. They're having to reschedule. This is on such a small scale compared to what it could be. And I think most of us know that. As far as all of the Fugle fam, you guys have been following for years and you are keeping track of this as well. I think it's pretty easy to say that these are increasing. I would say, some things like after the Palestine train derailment, media covered these the derailments a lot more because they realized that people were absolutely infatuated with derailments. Did the number of derailments go up? Not significantly, but the coverage did. I don't think it's the case with this. I do think that they have not covered a whole lot of these cyber attacks, and usually they explain them away as a glitch. So you could also take that into a factor. Why are they, of course, covering these now? And why aren't any of these companies trying to cover them up anymore? Are they putting something in the back of our head? I don't know, but it's very alarming. Dex, when it comes to like the healthcare systems, that's one thing. But you want to talk about the water facilities that, of course, had something going down.
Yeah, so this one we actually reported one of them, but it turns out the equipment that was being attacked, and this was being done by a country sponsored or Iran sponsored activist group that was doing this, is used by a lot of other water facilities, and they're now putting out a call to all of these water authorities to tell them to update this thing because it's leaving them vulnerable. And what has happened now is there's now been another authority that was temporarily shut down from one of their pumps using the same technology. So it is a component in there that basically they need to change a password on. Like there's like a default password on this thing, and nobody ever messed with it because nobody really ever used it or had to reconfigure it. It's just defaulted, and they need to go fix that on all of this stuff. And that's the vulnerability that this hacking group has been able to take advantage of. And it's not just these two; it can be many others. So I guess they're trying to get the word out to anybody that is using this particular piece of equipment and this particular software and hardware that goes along with it, so that they can fix it. But yeah, we've now seen this happen to two different water municipalities, and I suspect we might even hear some more if they don't get this updated.
Yeah, and you're talking about really scary consequences if something bad goes down. You're talking about they can turn up chemicals that are normally safe inside the water, which a lot of us argue that there should be none in there, but they do have chemicals in almost all of the water that goes out through the municipalities. And when those get turned up, they can be turned up to lethal doses. This has happened before. We covered it where a water facility was hacked. And luckily, somebody was literally sitting in front of the gauge and watched the needle go up of a certain chemical and turned it back down manually. If they weren't there, they said if they weren't there, something really bad could have happened. It was to a water supply for a small town. Anybody that ended up using that water for, say, a bottle or for coffee or for, espresso machine, they could have been in really, really big trouble. You could have had people perishing left and right. So this is something that is a very, very scary kind of attack, and it hasn't even happened yet. These smaller kind of things, it makes me wonder if these are practice runs. We just did a video over on Marfoogle News about some of the stuff that we got from Foogle fam members that are actually in a very specific kind of position. And they had some really, really crazy info. So please go check out that video. But just to sum it up, essentially the really, really big elite rich bunkers, these bunkers start at $2 million for a place in these places. And I believe that's the lowest end to get yourself started. They range from $2 million up to $45 million just to hold your spot in these places. They are essentially contacting clients and asking what kind of heirlooms and the things that basically, if it was go time right now or tomorrow, what kind of things do you want to have here? And we can send you a pod. They would literally send a type of pod to their house. They load up the stuff that they wouldn't be able to grab if they had a 15-minute time window or a 20-minute time window to leave, get on a plane, and go to this place. That is happening right now, and I don't know if it's related to they do this every time that it's a high-risk scenario, such as the whole stuff that's going on with China or the stuff that's going on with Israel. I don't know. It may be a regular thing. We don't know that, but we do know the kind of the whole crazy setup behind those places is they are very, very, very private. And to hear that kind of stuff, that's really freaky. A lot of the people that run those places are currently connected. Some of the selling points on some of those is that they are actually connected with different intelligence agencies. They have information. They're either connected on the boards of weapons manufacturing companies. They know what's going to happen beforehand. And that's why some of the rich and elite actually purchase with these certain companies and groups, because they will get a heads up before everybody else. So that has been going on in the last 48 hours. I wonder why. Again, that is exclusively from Foogle fam. And who knows? Maybe it's a normal thing. I don't know, because I don't have a spot in a $2 million emergency bunker. Dex, go ahead.
Well, one thing's for sure, if they were starting the process to plan the bug out, it would be the first step.
It would be. And if you think, so just pause for a second, because this is a really freaky thing if you think about it. Normally on news, we try to keep it really tight and short. But it's a really, really kind of crazy thing to think about, is there's this whole group of people above us that have this kind of money. And there was a study that I just looked at that says the higher the income, proportionately a higher number of these people were preparing. If you look at the tech billionaires, we've covered enough of these tech billionaires, the people that are talking to the people. And this is what's funny, is they call anybody down on our level crazy for thinking about prepping or thinking that something is going to happen. When you have somebody like Jack Dorsey, who is saying hyperinflation is coming soon, somebody like Zuckerberg, who literally put a slide from his office down to his vehicle in the garage. Like if it was go time, he could just slide down to his vehicle and go. You have Mr. Gates, who has a bunker under every one of his houses. And then you have other billionaires, which we know from Atlas Survival. He has a bunker company look at how fast his company has grown in the last 6 years since I've been on YouTube. It's crazy how fast his company has grown. Now, part of that is because of CV, and everybody's obviously now all of a sudden in the market. When you see big world events like that, people get into the market. But his company is now worldwide. The guy traveled to like 11 countries. He's doing bunkers everywhere. And that shows you the world is really responding to what is happening right now. But the craziest part is the richest people in the world have been prepping nonstop for 3 or 4 years. So they understand that this is a long game and that this isn't over yet. People have been saying it's the end of the world for as long as the world has existed. But again, many people like myself are not saying that it's the end of the world. We're saying that there is going to be a sort of fourth turning, another huge event, a world war, the start of a new planet, a new place, and that everything is about to change again. And it might change for the worse, but it also could change for the better. People could stand up and people could literally fight for whatever freedoms they have left. We don't know. We don't know what will happen. But one thing we are sure of is that these people are preparing, and they're preparing like we've never seen before. So if you have information, of course, send it to us. You can comment down below if you would like to reach out. And again, comment, say, hey, can I exchange emails with you? And then I can tell you what to put in the subject line so we can actually see it. We get so many emails, it's crazy. But I would love, if you have important information, let me know in the comments down below. And then just so many weird events are going on all at the same time, especially since we've had rumors of these events, like everything going on with China. It's just like, it's almost like it's a script from a movie. And then UKR, Ukraine's bombs Putin's longest rail tunnel, 3,000 miles inside Russia, used to get Chinese weapons in deepest attack yet. So if this is true, Dex, this is 3,000 miles. This is the size of it. They went as far in as the United States is wide. And I'm sure at the widest point, it's wider than that. But from like LA to Rhode Island, I think it's around 3,000 miles, right? So they went that deep into Russia and ended up striking this rail line.
Yeah, and it sounds like they did it inside a tunnel. It sounds like they also did it, and obviously this was not like a missile or a drone. This was a group that had strategically planned this out. And this is what they're claiming, and they're claiming that they did it. This is a rail line that runs from China to Russia, and it's been used significantly for moving weapons. So obviously a key strategic location. Well, they didn't just take out the tunnel; they took out the tunnel with a train in it at the same time, which would make it even more difficult to clean up, repair, get it back, and make it operational. So that's the claim, and if it's true, that's a pretty significant hit and pretty strategic and impressive on some regards. But yeah, 3,000 miles deep into the country, a tunnel, a train, and inside the tunnel they took it out.
I just caught a concerning comment there. The windy one says, I can't, it went by already, but I'm going to paraphrase. It says that I have a friend that has 3 grandchildren in the hospital with the thing that's going around, and that 4 cousins that are in the hospital for that same thing, and then said that the white lung is definitely in the US.
And that was in Alabama, the comment said.
That's what it said? That's
Correct,
Alabama.
Alabama.
So we have cases in Massachusetts, Ohio, and if that is true, Alabama. And here's the thing, most of us, and I hope that it's just like last time where it is less crazy than what they said. But there are a small percentage of the thoughts out there, right, that think, what if the last time was the warm up, right? That this time, because these things really do exist. I mean, people have worried about an actual demic going around like the Black Plague and just wiping everybody out. People pretend that it's not a real thing. And I think it's part of our defense system in our brain to think like, oh, that will never happen to us. And a lot of us are optimists. I mean, like we think, oh, somehow everybody thinks that they're the one who's going to live forever. Like you're not going to die. We all die. And everybody thinks, oh, well, maybe by the time I get old, something will happen or something, right? Because it's an inconvenient, it's a taboo within our own brain. We don't want to think about it. But with this new thing, right? From the last 4 years, everybody is going to assume, oh, this is a bunch of BS. But that's kind of a worry too, because if people don't take it seriously and then it ends up being the real deal, that would be freaky as well. But I did tell you the thing, if it affects the wee ones, it's going to emotionally charge this whole country. We already have everybody emotionally charged from all of the stuff going on with Israel and Hamas. We have the government, the media pitting everybody against each other. Every religion is now facing off right now. Every group, from young to old, to black or white, it doesn't matter what you are, people are facing off right now. And now you're going to have something come in that affects our wee ones. Like, that's really scary. But, we can't live our lives afraid of everything. We've got to, we just got to go day by day. Good evening, people of the world. Sean Z. What is going on, Sean C? Keith Simmons, I love Jesus forever. Thank you for being here. Keith, thank you. Joanna, Lewis Taylor, Kathy Lee, thank you for subscribing. And then Wages World just hit 6 months as a member. Says, best news on the line. Love you all. Hey, thank you, Wages, and thank you for being here tonight. Make sure to go check out Wages. He's actually has a big channel that covers solar, all of the solar news. And he just put out a video about the triple CMEs that came in. You can find him over on marfooglenews.com/friends. He's right at the end of the mods, but he, again, is got some great stuff about that. Dex, go ahead.
I think he said it's up to 4 now.
What? That's so.
Yeah, check out his latest videos, guys. Check it out.
What if it just keeps getting crazier? If you saw the images, the 3 CMEs, there was a huge coronal hole in the sun. If you look at a picture of the sun, it was like this much was a huge chunk was just black. I guess I've seen a lot of images of the sun, and we've had Wages on many times showing us all these coronal holes. I don't think I've ever seen one that big. It was like, it looked almost like 20% of the sun's surface was black. It was like a big gaping portal. I mean, it was just nuts. And then if you see the side images from satellite A or satellite B or whatever, the one from the side, it's like you see the 3 CMEs and it almost looks like overlapping walls getting shot out. And then if there was a 4th one, that's absolutely nuts. Actually, good time. I'll skip ahead to, if you guys haven't already, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. If you want to protect yourself against EMP or a CME from the sun, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This helps us out, and it helps protect you against solar events like that. So again, make sure to go check those out. You can put them in your vehicles, and it will have your vehicle running after a CME or a Carrington level event, or after a man-made EMP. Everyone has, of course, realized that this is now something that is very possible. And as far as a CME, it is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF because it will give us credit and it will help you get a $50 discount per device. It's a win-win for everybody. Discount for you, credit for us, and you're protecting yourself. Dex, do you want to go over Japan suspends all Ospreys?
So they are literally telling us, hey, we're telling the U.S. we're not allowed to fly them anymore. They're suspending all flights of the Osprey. This is after the report that we talked about yesterday, where it had crashed into the sea there by Japan, taking the life of one of the 8 crew members. So I guess there's a lot of danger in these particular planes or vehicles. Because they're kind of a helicopter, kind of a plane, but there's a lot of been a lot of risk in flying them. Been a lot of crashes. They don't glide down as you said on the show last night. They literally fall out of the sky like a rock when something goes wrong. And I think this one was reported to. Even said that locals had reported seeing one of the engines on fire before it crashed. So I don't know what the actual cause is. I'm sure we'll get more of those details later after they investigate it. But for now, Japan is saying, "Hey, don't fly those here anymore. Too risky. We don't want them. So you guys ground them or get them out."
Well, it's kind of many of you remember like what was it, the supersonic, what did they call it, the supersonic plane, the one that after it gotten so many accidents they stopped making it, they stopped flying it. It was the only hypersonic or supersonic passenger plane. Dex, do you remember the
That
name
would
of
be the Concorde.
the Concorde? It seems like, they're saying there's so many crashes. I've never heard of Ospreys crashing left and right. Like it makes me wonder. Like Japan doesn't want flights of the Osprey. Like that doesn't. Is there something wrong with the actual Ospreys? Like, is there something we don't know? Is there intelligence about parts that were put in the Ospreys? Are we going to find out? And here's my half prediction here. Are we going to find out that there's parts in the Osprey that China made or something that they're going to recall? It just, after one crash, they're going to suspend all flights. Something doesn't seem right. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And let's see here. And then mystery Mexican aliens are definitely not human and have 30% DNA of unknown species. The mystery Mexican aliens presented to the world earlier this year have had their DNA tested, and it confirms that they are not human. The world was shocked and baffled in equal measures when the two miniature corpses were unveiled by controversial Mexican journalist Jaime Muson. He claimed that they were centuries-old alien corpses found in Peru, with the latter country starting legal proceedings against Muson for allegedly stealing them from the country. The 70-year-old controversial bloke who found the mummies claimed that the finding of them was the most important thing that has happened to humanity. He added, "I believe that this phenomenon is the only one that gives us the opportunity to unite." That sounds familiar. Like a Reagan speech a long time ago that says, imagine a world where an outside race from another planet came and we all united and blah, blah, blah. It's like, are they setting up for something like that? What is odd to me, too, is a lot of folks have not, it has not quieted down about the Peru stuff, the attacks on the little tribal villages. And most people just kind of poo-poo it off. But then again, at the same time, we've got Congress and all these people talking about UFOs. They're talking about disclosure in mainstream media. It's become, this huge topic. But it's like, are they just kind of blowing smoke and distracting us for something? Every time they say they're going to disclose something, they disclose it, but it's highly redacted. You don't have anything. And then a lot of people question the David Grush guy, the guy that was the whistleblower. Now they're saying that they have 9 crafts that we've responded to 9 alien crashes. And I'm thinking, gosh, if the aliens are that big, I wonder how big the ships are. It would make sense though if they were small. Other folks have looked at the DNA testing of this thing, and I think what happened is other doctors are saying, oh, okay, well, it was whoever tested it was a local. But I don't know if that's changed. Isn't it the same local guy that did it? So I think people are questioning whether the test was legit, and the other doctors were asking to test this thing. But if they really are that tiny, it's kind of funny. Like they're this big, right? Maybe it's like Men in Black, those little tiny aliens, right? And they're running human beings like some sort of mech. And then what do you think about the whole ordeal? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that this thing is legit? They say that 30% of the DNA is not from any known species. Mexican researchers appearing alongside him confirmed that the mummies with just 3 toes were authentic. Just 3 toes. And it looks like three fingers too. Very. The thing is, I've been always creeped out by a full size alien, but if this thing was really creepy looking, I wouldn't be scared of it. I'd probably give it a good kick. But who knows? See it in person, I might scream like I'm seeing a spider and run out of the room like, horrified. South Koreans want their own nukes that could roil one of the world's most dangerous regions. Dex, do you want to go over this one?
Certainly. So, kind of a lengthy article here about a lot of the things that have been going on between the two countries there. But I think the most important thing for us to pay attention to is a poll they had done, and some of the sentiment that's going on in the country, and presumably that would roll up to even their own government politicians. But they have this fear that, and so right now there are no nukes in South Korea. They are protected by the U.S. But they have this fear that the U.S. President specifically would hesitate to use nuclear weapons to defend the South from an attack from the North, and it would because that could cause a lot more damage and escalate things at a greater level. So, because of that fear that they think just because we say we'll protect them, they don't think that we really will. They think that we'll hesitate. And so, because of that, there's a strong support now in their country to the neighborhood of 70 to 80% in the surveys saying that they should be acquiring their own nuclear weapons or at least getting Washington to bring them back because they used to have tactical nukes that were there. They were removed in the early 1990s. So, what they're suggesting is either bring those back so that we can have fast response if anything happens and a stronger deterrence, or we just need to get our own. Now, this is not necessarily an initiative from the government, it's more of a sentiment of the people right now. But it certainly these types of things will drum up over time, and it's also important to pay attention to because I mean, we know that the things between North and South there are just continuously going back and forth in a circle, and each time they do it, it just gets a little hotter and a little hotter and a little hotter.
Yeah, and everything they've asked for, they've pretty much gotten though. And so if they are asking for their own nukes, I wonder what is actually going to happen with that. And then Russia will send fighter jets and attack helicopters to Iran. State media says the move could strengthen ties that already have the U.S. worried. So there's a whole connection between, obviously, there's China, Iran, Russia, all the way through Cuba, Venezuela, this whole kind of circle. And what is more concerning for me is that one of these countries might be kind of the trigger puller. We actually have something covering Kim Jong Un's sister here in a second, but it's like there could be a country that ends up doing something just to kind of get things fired off. And I am alarmed by the confidence that these countries are now showing, and the same tricks that we used to pull don't scare them anymore. Like give you a good example, when China back in the 90s was really pressing on Taiwan, the U.S., all we had to do was send a bunch of carriers over there and they backed off. Essentially, they literally just went quiet. They backed off of what they were doing. This time around, when they went to Taiwan, we sent a whole carrier right at the beginning of when everybody started talking about this, and we sent a whole carrier fleet and everything else, and they didn't blink. They then ended up surrounding the island. They didn't care. So with this, it's like you have these countries that are already adversaries now working completely in sync with each other and exchanging weapons all throughout all of them. You have Kim Jong-un in Russia. You have Russia and Iran. You have Iran and Kim Jong-un. You have Kim Jong-un in China. You have, of course, Iran and Venezuela. You have Cuba and Russia, Cuba and China. They're all working. And then, of course, South Africa has been joining on stuff. India has been joining in with Russia, doing all sorts of stuff. So you have this powder keg that's waiting to go off. But it says that Russia has agreed to send advanced fighter jets and attack helicopters to Iran in a deal that would provide a significant boost to the country's air force. Huh. I wonder what's getting prepped up there. Wonder if they know something that we don't. Before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, the sale is going on, and today is the last day. So you won't actually have this sale after today. Instead of $300 off, the Black Friday was extended because people missed out on the Black Friday. So they did extend it until today. So it is your last chance to get the Harvest Right for now, the Pro Series for $500 off instead of our normal code, which gets you $300 off. This is a freeze dryer system. And again, these are not cheap. This is an investment. This is literally something that can freeze dry your own food. It's a very easy system to use. It's very close to set it and forget it. And it is incredibly powerful as far as being able to freeze dry your own food, what you have. If you have a garden, this is a great thing. You can freeze dry all of your fruits and veggies instead of letting them go to waste. You can go and shop for your own food. You can save a whole lot of money, especially if you are prepping up a lot of freeze-dried food. Freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years, and it's getting so pricey that most people can't even afford a meal, let alone a month of supplies. So this way, you can freeze-dry your own food. You can go on a thrifty dime. But again, there's an investment in the first place. So you really have to look if this is something that is going to be worth it for you. I think it's only going to be worth for people that really want to do at least a few months of food. Then it will pay itself off. As far as if you have 5 kids and you're trying to get 6 months of food for all of them, this would definitely pay itself off instead of going and buying pre-packaged freeze-dried food. Freeze-dried food lasts 25 years. It keeps in almost all of the flavor. It keeps in a lot of the nutrients, and it can last, again, over 2 decades. So go over to marfooglenews.com/freeze. And again, today is the last day of that. So unfortunately, it is not going to go any further than that. But it is still $500 off for the Black Friday sale. Again, marfooglenews.com/freeze. And then Kim's sister rejects U.S. offer of dialogue with North Korea and vows more satellite launches. So this is so crazy. I've talked about this for years since, or at least 2 years since Kim Jong-un had his brain surgery, and mainstream media all over the world said that he died. They literally thought he died, and by the end of the day, they said, "Oh no, he's recovering, he's fine." Within that same time period, they actually talked to Dennis Rodman, the ex-NBA player, the very flamboyant, colored hair NBA player. Because he is close friends with Kim Jong-un. He's gone there dozens and dozens of times. He is a family friend, is what they call him. And he said, if you ever see his sister start talking in public, then something is wrong. Within about a week, Kim Jong-un's sister came out and hasn't gone back. She has been a mouthpiece for North Korea, which is so weird. When you study even the basics of their culture, they do not. They are about as pro-woman as some of the other countries that we're dealing with right now, and they don't ever put women in power. So it was odd to see that, to say the least. But also, people questioned if Kim was actually still alive. People wondered if 3-letter agencies had taken him out and replaced him with somebody who looked like him. Because it was some sort of puppet. I don't know what's going on there, but it's odd to see Kim's sister is the one who's making these decisions. B. Blake says, I thought we had videos of him. We have videos of Joe Biden saying F you and dancing the jig. I mean, we have videos of Britney Spears. Well, actually, those are real. We have videos of Iron Man, in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and it looks legit. There's videos, I'm sure. But also some of the videos, there was weird things that happened after that. There was a video that was timestamped, but then they showed that it was actually 2016. So they purposely put off a video and said, here's its timestamp, but then somebody verified that it was from 2016. So why did they try to take a 2016 video, put it into 2022, and then timestamp it to make it look like it was new? There's a lot of weird stuff like that that went on. I'm not saying I believe he's gone, but I do think it's weird. And then now his daughter has popped up. It just doesn't make sense. There's been questions about a certain birthmark on the new guy's neck or whatever. The thing is almost all presidents and prime ministers and really, really, really rich people, they will have a body double. They will hire somebody or even have somebody do surgery on their face to look exactly like them for safety reasons. So we know that most of our presidents have had that. We know that Russia has body doubles. We know that China has doubles. I think again, Winnie the Pooh has been busy this whole time. He's kept employed. Winnie the Pooh has tons of honey now. But yeah, as far as they're talking about the satellite and the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. This is so here's another thing that I want to point out. You guys know that I point out the verbs and the nouns that they use for people. So for Vladimir Putin, they say the desperate, despo, the dying, the weakling, Vladimir Putin. They'll say that. But then for her, this is NBC saying the powerful sister of North Korean leader. Not like the reclusive or something this or the surprise, surprise speaking North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. They say the powerful sister. Those words are important. Little things like that do matter. On Thursday, dismissed U.S. calls for a return to diplomacy and lambasted its condemnation of the North's recent spy satellite launch, vowing more launches in the violation of UN bans. So the writer wants you to think of her as powerful and scary. That's why I'm pointing it out. Whereas the media wants you to think of Vladimir Putin as not a threat, pathetic despo Vladimir Putin. No, nobody cares about him. Bungling over himself, Vladimir Putin. But yet they want you to be afraid of North Korea. Why? That's my question. It is intended and it is very thought through. It's edited. It's checked out. And I point it out every time. Ever since I noticed it, I see weird things in there. Dex, as far as Kim Jong-un's sister, the satellite, it took pictures of the White House, right?
They claim it took the White House as well as the Pentagon.
Yeah,
that's what he said he was studying. They said Kim is studying the pictures of the Pentagon. I'm like, okay, well, Google Map will show you that too, but I don't know how great his equipment is, but at the same time, they're bragging about that. So that is what it is.
Lucky Max says, I don't believe these are satellite launches. Rip Curl says, I want to know what NK is putting into space. I don't know if you're responding to people saying like, I don't care what they put in space. I see a lot of that. People, they don't care about North Korea. I think North Korea is going to be the scapegoat and the trigger for WW3. It's like one of 3 countries that I think are going to spark off the hot stuff to happen. Rip Curl Readiness, probably a McDonald's. Hey, Wages, nice to see you too. And then Vivian, love always. Brian Knight, I don't know. Aaliyah, hopefully if you're watching the replay, miss ya. Seeking Truth, Fear for all this year. Merry Christmas, said the elves. Brian Knight, just give the enemy plans to the Pentagon. Dex, go ahead.
Speaking of satellites, yesterday we had a comment about a Kepler. It may have been a typo. It was Kessler syndrome. It came up numerous times in chat, and I just wanted to bring it up since we're talking about Kim's satellite. That is the phenomenon in which the amount of junk in orbit around Earth reaches a point where it creates more and more debris, causing bigger problems. So in other words, as we put more stuff up there, there'll become a cascading effect where something will break and it'll become dominoes and start destroying everything in orbit, because once one breaks, it breaks another and it breaks another. So it's the Kessler effect when all of these satellites get up there as we grow over time that it's so bad that it's sort of like that traffic jam on the highway, except it's a an infinite collision.
Yeah. Um, that
So
movie.
Kim's adding to it, right?
Yep. Well, that movie. What was it? Gravity. I think it was Gravity that showed the scene of all of the stuff hitting each other and domino effect and starts a big catastrophic spinning whirlwind of chaos. Let's see here. Thank you, by the way, Stephanie Cook, Meepa007. Mitch Mouth says, thanks, Adam and Dex. Hey, thank you. Stephen McMahon says, thanks to Adam and Dex and to our great mods. Best show on the net. Well, thank you. Try to share us out if you can. And Stephen McMahon, thank you, says, God bless all in this house. So somebody made a comment earlier about somebody, and I wish that we would have, I didn't have power over that, but they were being rude and they were saying stuff like, oh, Marf, you said you were going to do a documentary on the Cascadia subduction zone and you gave some other creator crap because he did a documentary, or he said he was going to do a documentary and never did it. So you're a hypocrite. Just so you know, I was actually mad myself because I gave funding to another creator to do a what do you call it? A documentary. It was really looked good. They put out this thing saying they're going to do it, and they did a fundraiser and they took money for it. The big difference is I never took money for mine, and I am making sure that mine is really, really good. So I don't know if you guys know this, but to do a really good documentary and a professional one, it takes companies with hundreds of staff years to do. I am by myself. I don't even have Dex. I mean, Dex can help with certain things, but I don't even have somebody here. I don't have a cameraman. I don't have anybody to do it. If I do things, I've got to do it with a tripod. If I do any editing, it has to be me. They do say like every minute of video, you have hours of editing, right? Well, I have tons of things that I have to put in there. I have files and files, and I have hard drives and hard drives of stuff. It takes a long time. So I do apologize, but I never took money or fundraised. That's the difference. I would love to get my documentary out because, but another thing that happened is I started that whole thing when nobody knew about Cascadia. And it was like right away, other creators all of a sudden put out tons of different, after I announced mine, people came out with all of these Cascadia documentaries. One good thing is now that people know. When I started that, nobody knew what Cascadia subduction zone is. Now everybody on the West Coast knows what it is. So I don't think it's a lost cause because I still think that there's people that don't know, and I still think that there's towns that they are completely leaving in the dark, like Ocean Shores and Westport. Those places will be underwater. They have no escape. There could be 500,000 people in a city that has literally no way to get out, no escape. So mine is going to be centered on towns like that, but it's taking so much longer, and it takes years with a whole team of people. I don't know if I'll ever finish, to be honest. Like, it has been a nightmare in the back scenes, and I do a show 5 nights a week. If I even miss one show, it's a big deal. So again, it's hard to do. And I'm just being honest. I've got kids too, and I work different jobs. So yeah, it is taking much longer. And I hope the Cascadia doesn't happen before I get it out. So it is frustrating. Like, it frustrates me to see that comment. But again, that's an incorrect statement, because I never did a fundraiser and took, $30,000 from people to turn around and not make it. I'm doing it on my own dime. I've done all of my trips, all of my interviews, everything on my own dime. I didn't take money for it. I bet money would help too. I could pay people for interviews and pay things, and it might actually be a whole lot easier than trying to get somebody to come on for free. But yeah, I'm still doing it. It's still going to come out. It is my New Year's resolution the last 3 years. And just like all of my other ones, like diet, it didn't work out. So just want to point that out. I'm not going to say who that creator is, but many of you probably already know. Since then, I've kind of forgiven that, but for a while I was mad because when I first started my channel, I started it because I saw that people weren't they basically had the people that I believed and thought were good, they weren't. So they like, how do you do a fundraiser for a documentary and then not do the documentary? That's just not even put out like half of one or a quarter of one. And then the next day have all sorts of new things. It's like, that's crazy to me. And then rice nears 15-year high as global food crisis much worse than 2008. Rice prices are on the verge of hitting a new 15-year high on the damage effects of the El Nino weather phenomenon across Asia and have damaged farmlands, leading to dwindling supplies. Now, I thought I saw something on Ryan Hall, which is a great channel, in my opinion, that covers like weather events, and the way he explains it is very easy, again, for somebody who's a novice at that kind of stuff. But this whole cycle, whatever is going on right now is just absolutely nuts. It says Thai white rice 5% broken hit $640 per ton this week. These prices are back up to levels not seen since October of 2008. Prices are up 50% since the start of 2022. 50%. Huge chunks of the world depend on rice as staples, especially in places where a lot of other things are hard to get. Bloomberg spoke with Chugia Asfanzi, honorary president of Thai Rice Exporters Association, who provided new details about the deteriorating conditions for global rice markets. Asfanzi said the demand for Thai rice from Brazil and the Philippines continue to rise. He said that prices are being pushed up as top producer countries run low on supplies and demand increases elsewhere. It says we're selling well now because Vietnam is low on stocks, said Chukia, whose group sets the weekly price for 5% broken. It says we provided readers with an understanding that rice, which is critical to the diets of billions of people worldwide, was headed for a shortage. And again, what is crazy, though, is how in America this isn't a staple, but in so many other places, rice is something that I don't know what to compare it to here, but it's like American families and mac and cheese or spaghetti. It's in every person's diet, right? What I also thought of interesting is how China is hoarding up a crazy amount. I forget what the percentage was. It was like 60% of the world's rice or 55% of the world's rice. Dex, wasn't rice on that list of that China was hoarding, that they had a world percentage of?
I think it was wheat and corn, because those are things that like they produce a ton of rice, but it was wheat and corn they were hoarding up.
I was trying to look. I thought, and I feel like there was other things, the gold, and then let me see here.
Oh yeah, everybody's been talking about the gold prices this year, and it's been because of them hoarding that too. They've been buying a lot. We've reported on it numerous times. So yeah, gold, wheat, corn, and certainly the rice that they produce, but I think they've been importing and storing large amounts of corn and wheat in addition.
Yeah. So, and by the way, there's tons of stories on this. If you actually look, it says here's Reuters. The stockpiling. One reason Bloomberg put out in January 5th of last year, not even this year, last year in 2022, one reason for rising food prices, Chinese hoarding. This was a piece that came out over a year ago. Now it's definitely confirmed. They denied that they were hoarding, and then there was other absolute proof that came out. Keen to avoid shortages and reduce dependence on imports to government. So I don't know about the rice, but all of these things going up, this isn't good for the whole world. It's one thing after another. It just keeps coming. And then after 50 years, the U.S. is to return to the moon on January 25th. This is kind of crazy because nobody's really talking about this, but all of a sudden it's supposed to happen. It will have no one on board, though. It says the lander named Pellegrin will have no person, and it was developed by American company Astrobotic, whose CEO John Thornton said it will carry NASA instruments to study the lunar environment in anticipation of NASA's Artemis manned missions. Which I wish they would, be able to close this debate that is happening in our community, but they can't because of weird things like this. Like with how far our technology has gone, why have we not gone back in however many years, over decades? I don't understand that. We didn't even have the 386 computers the last time we went up. How did we have this huge technological jump, but yet we didn't go right there to the moon? That's why there's still arguments, and it's hard, no matter what side you're on that argument, it's hard to explain why they haven't gone back. And of course, people say, well, it's because of the firmament. It's this, that. I get that. So, yeah, there's a lot of points that it makes you just absolutely nuts. Why have they not gone back to the moon? Some, though, think on the other side of it, maybe they have gone back to the moon. Maybe they've been going the whole time. They just have secret things up there. Some believe that the moon is going to be a jump spot to Mars because something is going to happen to Earth and all of the richest people are going to be leaving. I mean, shoot, with how fast they're building these SpaceX, BFG rockets or whatever they call them, or starships, makes you wonder, do they know something we don't? Why are they going there in the first place? Is there money to be made? I don't get it. And if there was money to be made, how did they not know about it years ago when we had all of the technological advancements that for sure would have made going to the moon very easy? Like, I don't see how hard it would be. I know that the moon is much farther than it looks, but they say 200 and something thousand miles away. It's not millions of miles away. It's not light years away. It's something like 200 and something thousand miles away. In a rocket, that wouldn't take long. Why haven't we gone? And with the technology of today, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's why it's going to continue to be a debate for a very long time. Dex, as far as like going back to the moon, the Artemis missions are going to be a big deal. But sending this thing, what are they going to do? You would think that they would have the technology to have a live feed from the moon of Earth and be able to access it 24/7. We should have Wi-Fi up there, for gosh sakes.
One would think. So, we've seen this with Japan. We've seen this with lots of other countries that have landed or attempted to land and failed, or even countries like China that just smashed something into the backside of the moon, and don't take credit for it until after everybody points the finger at them and says, "Nope, it was yours." But what's happening now is we're sending I guess you'd call it a rover, an observer, but it will be a landing. So we're launching this, if all goes according to plan, they're launching December 24th, Christmas Eve. And that will only not take it too long to get there. But once it's there, it needs to wait in orbit until the 25th of January when the light is the best at the landing site. And then it will descend and land. So, um, hopefully all will go well so we don't become, the laughing stock as others have been when their landers go dark or things don't work right. But yeah, this is not coming from SpaceX. It's not coming necessarily from NASA. It's a third party. It's another company that's doing this, that's doing it in conjunction with the larger project from Artemis.
Stephen McMahon says it's suspicious that rockets today look exactly like they did in the late 1950s when all other technologies have developed tremendously. Well, I mean, there is something to be said about aerodynamics. And I guess if you look at the starships, they have a pointy edge. I mean, like, there's only so much you can do. You can't launch a ball up into space. Like, there's certain things. There's a reason why the cars have a kind of a similar shape that they do in the 50s too, because there's only so much you can do with aerodynamics. And rockets are rockets. I don't know. I guess I don't see that as, but as far as I don't know, and I do think that they've advanced the outsides, the materials they use. But yeah, a lot of stuff hasn't changed. you do have a point, though. And then Microsoft president says no chance of super intelligence AI soon. Well, if Microsoft's saying it, I'm definitely going to not believe it. So I should read this as super intelligence is here and Microsoft is hiding it in their back pocket. But I will read the official narrative. Boring. The president of tech giant Microsoft said that there is no chance of super intelligent artificial intelligence being created within the next 12 months. Then he winked and said it will be about 13 and cautioned that the technology could be decades away. BS. So OpenAI co-founder Sam Altman earlier this month was removed as CEO by the company's board of directors, but was swiftly reinstated after a weekend of outcry from the employees and shareholders. Reuters last week exclusively reported that the ouster came shortly after researchers had contacted the board, warning of a dangerous discovery they feared could have unintended consequences. Remember, they said that it was going to be a threat to humanity. The internal project named the letter here. I'm telling you that it's so weird that they named it this. And then, of course, what was the other company that Amazon just named their new project the same thing? Is that right? Was it Amazon?
That's correct. They launched an artificial intelligence chat system for businesses and then used the same name without the star, just the letter
The
alone.
same. Why? Why? Okay. Why did they name it this? This does not make any sense. This one, and they say pronounced, Custer. Why? It says could be the breakthrough in the startup search for what's known as artificial general intelligence. It says one source told Reuters, OpenAI defines AGI as autonomous systems that could surpass humans in most economically valuable tasks. That's scary. That it means we're done. They're going to use them instead of us, and that they are going to take over, and then they will become they as in AI, not as in the rulers. However, Microsoft President Brad Smith, speaking to reporters in Britain on Thursday, rejected claims of a dangerous breakthrough. Well, of course they did. They have money invested in the damn thing. They're trying to hide it. Dex, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say on the lettering, it's my assumption at this point, and outside of the theory as to why, there's a lot of reasons we can think and speculate as to why. But if you look at the technical aspect, I think there's probably something along the lines of the technology, and probably related to quantum computing at some point. That is why they're using that letter. But man, it is really kind of crazy that that's what they're calling it, given the all of the backlash around that same letter being used for other things. And it's like we can't even say it here. I mean, so crazy.
Because they deleted everybody that talked about that thing. And it's crazier even that back when that was all going on with that letter, that they said, oh, it's a military group. It's not a person. It's a group. It's this or that. And then they said, oh, there was a theory, and there was a lot of people that were there was like different camps of people that thought it was this or thought it was that. There was a big camp of people that thought that it was AI that was doing it, and that the AI, and there was even a camp of people that thought it was AI from the future talking back to us into the past, and that they were able through quantum processing, or I forget the name of it, but the scientists now have been talking about how we might be able to send a message through time continuum or something. And I think they technically said that they sent one through a wormhole or something. Anyways, they were saying that whatever that was actually AI from the future sending messages back about all of these weird things. Obviously, all of you can decide BS or not, but then they go and name their thing this, and then Amazon names their thing that, and it's like, are you kidding? With all of the negative connotation around that, why would they do a business decision like name it that? That does not make sense to me. Maybe in history, everybody will forget the other the other group that use that, right? Maybe that's kind of like, where they use the same name so people think of it as that and not as that. Sounds odd to me. All right, and then before we move on, make sure if you do want to just get it done and get yourself some food, this is the pre-packaged way to do it. And again, this is one of the most affordable ways to get bulk food. If you can't afford to get yourself a machine and do it yourself, or just want to have it done and don't want to take the time to do it, because it takes a lot of time. If you are just want it readily available, go to marfooglenews.com/prep. They have 3-month plans right now. They have, of course, you can get a month bucket. You can get a 3-day kit, a 72-hour kit if you want to put it in your go bag. These are freeze-dried foods sealed in Mylar bags. And then depending on what size you can even get up to the 3-month that's sealed in buckets, ready to store, very space efficient. And when you want to eat it, you just add water or cook in water and it's ready to go. It will last 25 years from now. So you will have this food until 2052. You can only imagine where food prices will be in 2050. You, instead of spending $83,000 on an egg, you'll be able to go into your stash and eat some food from there. marfooglenews.com/prep. And then kids who use social media more prone to making dangerous decisions. We needed an article to tell us that, apparently. A new study highlights a concerning link between adolescents frequently using social media and risky decision-making that could put their lives in danger. With millions of young people scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and other platforms on a daily basis, the effects of these platforms are far-reaching. Social media and a vibrant mix of content sharing, social networking, and blogging has become a cornerstone of modern communication. Blah, blah, blah. It's not just about staying connected. It offers a sense of freedom and belonging. The W and the H and the O even recognizes its power in promoting health, noting its roles in fostering healthy lifestyles, like, propaganda, accessibility to health information, and emotional support. However, it's not all positive. Researchers from the University of Glasgow found a strong association between regular social media use and various risky health behaviors among young children and teens. These included increased underage drinking, drug use, and smoking, as well as antisocial behavior such as unsafe sexual activity and gambling. Well, yeah, and they're probably missing a few, like chopping off parts of their body, things like that, because they probably wouldn't have had that idea otherwise. And it says that how does this happen? The study points to several factors. Peer pressure amplified. Social media can intensify peer pressure, pushing teens toward risky behaviors. The displacement of physical interaction. Excessive screen time might be replacing face-to-face interactions, leading to physical inactivity. This is something that a lot of us have to work on. And again, I know that there's people out there that have kids that, again, now kids it's a standard. Anybody can judge that's already had their kids and their kids are grown up. But the kids now, there is an expectation to all kids now that they have devices. It is very hard to try to tell one kid out of 50 kids that they can't have something. In my opinion, it's kind of what you have to do. Again, our kids are able to use tablets and stuff. There's all sorts of different ways you can go about it. I'm not going to give anybody advice on how to do that, but I would do some research, because your kid on that tablet, your kid on that phone, it is going to hurt them in some way or another if they are able to just access it 24/7. Now, all of us had something by the time we were teenagers or old, like even when I was a kid, we had dial-up. It was much slower. If you were going to get into trouble, it would take you hours to get into trouble. Heck, you had to deal with annoying noises just to start making trouble. But as far as now, it's instantaneous. Instant trouble. So there are ways to do it. But again, why did they need a study to tell people this? But I am glad that this is Dex, the reason I'm glad that there's studies out there like this, it takes studies and actual evidence for some people to realize this.
I'm sorry, having technical difficulties over
No,
here. Yes, I
that's okay.
totally agree.
Thought I lost
Um,
you.
eh, yeah, I totally agree. I was just reading earlier another similarly related article. There was a high school, I think it was a private school, but after CV, they had noticed that the kids didn't know how to really interact with each other because they're all working from home. So the school decided to ban cell phones for the year and get rid of all smartphones during the school. And they actually found that the students were actually thriving and were happier being in school and happier in general versus before when they had those devices. So and this was at a high school too,
Did
because this
you?
is like teenagers. So
That was
that's
on my
kind of a
Twitter. Did you find that on my Twitter?
it may have been there, and I may have saw it somewhere else too. But yeah, did you post that one? I can't remember where I found it, but I just looked it back up because I remember seeing that headline. I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fascinating.
No,
Yeah,
isn't that great? And
it,
it's really cool. So they banned all cell phones. They had to give them at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day, they got it back. It's all it's. Can you link that on tonight's show? It's actually really really cool.
yeah. I'll put your tweet up there.
Yeah, if you can't find my tweet, just put the link to it because that was something that yeah, I think more schools need to follow that up. And if they're gonna have phones, they're gonna have phones somehow, or they're gonna have tablets, they're gonna have stuff. But at school, that shouldn't be an absolute no no. The thing is at schools nowadays, all the way down to first grade. So my daughter told me that in first grade, that almost all of the kids had some form of a cell phone. Nobody had these dragonflies or the ones that just call mom or call dad. They had full on cell phones by first grade. And of course they say, "Oh, well, I want one. Everybody else has one." Of course, it was a big no. But first grade, that's 6 years old, had cell phones. That is absolutely insane to me. And free access. Most of the people don't put the programs to monitor the activity. They're just free access to the internet. And I don't care if you're on like YouTube Kids, you scroll through about every 5 videos are creepy. The one thing with the YouTube is if it pegs you as a kid, it will show you kids videos. But there's adults making creepy content for kids, and they make everything else look like it's for kids. But then they put these weird things in, and I'm not talking about like the old school like Disney movies where they put the occasional innuendo that the parents would get. I'm talking about creepy stuff, like like over the top innuendo, suggesting weird things. It's all over the place. It's what caused adpocalypses, but it's still there. All right, and then Senator Rand Paul performs Heimlich maneuver on choking Joni Ernst. Again, looks like he popped something out with the Heimlich maneuver. Performed the Heimlich maneuver on Senator Joni Ernst, Republican out of Iowa, who's choking on food. Happened on Thursday during a Senate lunch. So Rand Paul, everybody's saying they're a hero. And then Pope Francis, I don't know if you guys heard me the other day, but missed something. And I said, I don't think Pope Francis is going to have too much more time left. And then today comes out with Pope Francis illness revealed to be very acute infectious bronchitis. Huh. That's not good at that age, especially when your immune system isn't what it used to be. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and with everything going around with pneumonia right now, he even said, "Thank God it wasn't that." So, um, you know, I don't know much about bronchitis nor pneumonia. Don't plan to prescribe anything on that, but it just seemed kind of odd that he was having respiratory problems, and this thing is going around now that is affecting the young and the old and the very old.
Yeah, and and says still on antibiotics and such with the pneumonia. It's like there's a lot of especially the rougher ones. Antibiotics might not do as much as you want them to do. All right, and then Richard Koschmeiter, thank you so much for the super sticker. I used to be in the library, says, thanks, Marfoogle team. Hey, thank you so much for the support. And then Stephen McMahon, thank you. And Viv B, thank you as well, says, worry more about the TCI League founded by ex-Mossad They have access to all critical systems in the USA under the guise of free cyber protection service. See redacted interview with Whitney Webb of the WEF predicts cyber attacks before 2025. Viv B, I showed that too. The WEF, that was what we were covering last year, and it is really freaky to see what they're saying. They were doing that meeting, that conference. I do want to see the Whitney Webb interview, so I will go check that out. And then thank you, Viv. I appreciate that. And then Mitch Mouth, I appreciate you. Stephen McMahon, Stephanie Cook, and Meep Up at 007. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Danish Girl, Tennessee Mountain Girl, thank you. And everyone else who made it tonight, thank you, and thank you. All right. And then make sure to go check out Energy, marfooglenews.com/energy if you want one of the best solar generators on the market. marfooglenews.com/energy. It is expandable, it is modular, and it is silent. You don't have to worry about going to a gas station during SHTF. If you have some solar panels, you'll be able to create your own power and then keep it stored for when you need it. marfooglenews.com/energy. This is the same company that's outfitting the Army with the Flex Tactical. This is their new version, developed by the Air Force Research Laboratory and, of course, Energy. And now they just won the SBIR Phase 2 contract. So if you want one of the best, that would be the Flex Tactical, which has built-in heater batteries, steel reinforced frame, and, of course, 1,500-pound latches, water and dust resistant. It's got it all, and it's expandable, and it will be able to mix and match with the original batteries from the Flex 1500. Again, they're coming up with different adapters so you can actually mix and match those, which is really cool. You can add whatever mods you want to make it whatever system you do want. marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Thank you guys for watching tonight. Thank you for supporting our independent channel. Thank you guys for putting up with anything, especially affiliates and things like this. We believe that these are products that will actually save your life, help your life. But we know that, and nobody likes to see advertisements for things, but understand it is because we are completely independent. We're on our own, and this helps us keep going. Everybody could say all day, oh, you could just do it and do it for nothing. But again, that's not how the real world works. We all have bills. We all have to put food on the table. So thank you guys, and I appreciate everybody that has supported us through the years. And again, thank you for everybody that shares us out. Make sure to press the like button if you really do appreciate what we do and all the work we put in. Make sure to press that like button, share it out to somebody that doesn't know about us, and then, of course, bring a friend or family member. Thank you. Dex, do you want to just quickly let people know how they can reach the bibliography?
Yeah, absolutely. Head over to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or hit that show notes link down below in the description. And you can even find that infamous quote from Elon that came out that I think some people will like. Some may find it offensive because there's some vulgarity in it, but that is on there as well if you're looking for it. And that's his words to the advertisers, and specifically, I think he was calling out Bob from Disney.
Okay, the only reason I do want to talk about this again is because there's a list from Disney, Apple, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's saying to boycott. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. I know that people are hit or miss on Elon. I'm not going to be supporting several of those companies because I'm sick and tired of this. Exactly what he said, like basically blackmail with the advertiser stuff. They are pulling out because he made a comment or whatever. They're trying to take out Twitter. And I know why. It's not because of his damn comment. They have been attacking. And I don't know how legit he actually is. He might be the other evil side. Who knows? But I do know that those companies are doing something evil by pulling out because of a comment, this and that. I know that that's just a front. So I will say most people are going to be on his side after seeing that comment. But I would heavily ask you to look into all the stuff that's going on. We don't know who's truly good. We don't know who the anti-heist is, but dang, it's hard not to see this and root it on. Elon's response to being boycotted by adversaries. Somebody's going to try to blackmail with money, go F yourself. Said, seriously, go F yourself. And then says, I see a lot of people doing evil or looking good in public, but doing evil in the background or something. Go check it out. And says the judge is the public. Essentially says people will be the judge and they will boycott those companies. I hope it hurts Disney. Disney's already screwed up. I mean, like, I used to love Disney movies when I was a kid, but now it's like, it's hard to show them to your kids because they're just literally turning them into the Pandaverse. So thank you guys. Love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you, Dex. I love you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Thank you, Beer Juice, Poco Loco, Kimbria, Scooby Doo Do Right, a wannabe, and of course, Celia. Thank you. Salty Toes, thanks for following. Kelly2334, thank you for celebrating a sub anniversary. Jendo, Dex has a camera. In fact, he has a very nice camera. If he wanted to be on, he could be on anytime. In fact, he's covered whole shows. If you go back, you can see what he looks like. When I go on vacation, he did the whole show by himself. It's a matter of want, not if he can. Because as nice as people are, it's not always a fun thing to be on camera, by the way. I would love to say I love all of the beautiful comments that I get about how I look and how I talk and how I speak and about family things that are none of their business. But, you know, it happens.